This morning's gospel is a story about polarities or opposites in what is happening. In Jesus' day, perhaps the person who did what might have been expected is the person who got the punishment. And yet the people that did the right thing got rewarded. In Jesus' day, if you were a rich, well-off, to-do person, you were not supposed to try and get more, because in Jesus' day, everyone thought of the economy as like a pie. If you took more, you had to take it from someone else. And so in the Jewish tradition, you weren't to do that. However, that person could entrust things to their slaves, and they were allowed to do whatever they wanted with the money without any problem or without anyone thinking otherwise. And so it isn't all that surprising that this person, when he's going away for a long time, would entrust to his slaves his money so that they could invest it. The expectation is they would invest it while he's gone. What's amazing about this story is that when the rich person gives to his slaves his money, it's a very special, specific word, periidomai, which means to hand over, as in he didn't just entrust it to them, he gifted it to them. He gave it to them. They didn't need to return it. And the amount that he is given, this is only the second time we hear of a gift of this magnitude, a talent. It's approximately 75 to 96 pounds of silver that he would give to his slaves, which would have been approximately 15 to 20 years of their income. So this is not a small gift. 5 talents, approximately 100 years. 2 talents, approximately 40 years. 1 talent, approximately 20. Even the smallest of gifts is an amazing amount. And look at what happens. The first person, it's important, immediately upon receiving them goes out and invests, spreads the money, the talent. The second person likewise. What's important here is that in this story there is no comparison, as in the person with 2 didn't say, gee whiz, I only got 2, that person got 5, and so maybe I didn't get such a good deal after all. No, he also or she also immediately went out to invest the time and talent. It's the last person who received the least. He does what someone would do out of fear. And it's specific with the action that this person took. You see, if you received money from someone and you buried it in the ground, you have absolved yourself of all risk or responsibility if anything happens to the money. And so this person, in essence, gives up completely all responsibility of this possession and buries it. It's interesting when the rich person comes back, the responses of the individuals. The first one with 5 comes and says, Master, look what has happened. The money has doubled. Same with the person with 2. There's no comparison again, just simply, Master, look what has happened. And the master says, rejoice. This specific word, rejoice, is used in the other portions of Matthew in places like the Magi, when they come to visit Jesus as an infant. They rejoice. Rejoice, for you will have rewards in heaven. Rejoice because you're hearing the word of God. Rejoice because you have found the lost sheep, and most important of all, Mary and Peter rejoiced when they saw the empty tomb. An amazing gift. So the Master has truly given unbelievable gifts freely to his servants, and two have done well, and he rejoices because they have taken and acted and responded and multiplied the gift. It is the last person with the least that in fear did absolutely nothing. I think at the heart of this story, of this parable, is what's happening with God's gracious gift to everyone, an unbelievable offering. To each there is an ability, and God gives lavishly, unconditionally, amazing amounts of grace and gift to each one of us. How do we respond? One of the things or challenges that came to me as I started to read this over and then study it is that perhaps it is appropriate that it does involve money, but not just money, action as well. Let me ask a challenging question because I had to ask it of myself. Do we spend as much time and effort on trying to share and spread the gospel in God's grace as we do on our investments, like our IRAs or other investments? I just wanted to pause on that. To each, we have an ability, and God gives lavishly to each one of us. The challenge is, do we choose to take it out into the world, even at great risk? If we do, God will bring reward in the spreading of the gospel and the mission of God's grace and the mission of the church. You know, Kim and I were traveling this last week, as you remember, and we had the opportunity to visit with friends who used to come to the church. If you remember the Hanshaws, they are responsible for the garden that we had. When we got to their home, it was a nice ranch size, and when they purchased the home, it was a very modest price. When you look around, like a half a mile in that direction, half a mile in that direction, and another half a mile in that direction, you'll notice that there are trees and fences. And so I started to ask Mark, well, where is your property line? And he goes, well, the trees, the fence, the trees. It's like, oh my God. He had been able to purchase the land because his neighbors had almost gifted him the acreage. Here's the amazing part. When you look at it, there's like a 5-acre garden over there, and I thought that was someone else's. There's like a 5-acre garden over there, and I thought, well, maybe that's his. And then there's another garden back that way. They're all Mark's and Denise's. And most importantly, when you talk with them, the communities. Here's how it works. He now has a full-size tractor with a mower. He's retired. Denise, she was going to pursue the diaconate, didn't, but she has the same ministry as a substitute teacher and is one of the most loved in the elementary, middle, and high school, with the students. They request that she be their teacher. Amazing. And she says, you know, what I hear makes it different is I treat them special. All I do is act like they're young adults and let them act like young adults. Mark farms all of this acreage, mows his neighbor's yard, and then gives food away to the school and neighbors, and also at a farmer's market to help pay for the garden. In return, people have given him things like meat and acreage to continue to build their ministry. Most importantly and appropriately, you may remember their youngest daughter's name is Faith. So we did what everyone would do. Without question, we had grace at dinner, but then when it was time to leave and drive, they asked Faith if she would pray for our safe travel and arrival. Now, Faith is probably part Baptist because she prayed a really long prayer. Imagine, this is an 8th grader who is praying for the health of people with COVID, who is praying for the health and prosperity of her neighbors, who is praying for those in her school who may be upset to the point that they may contemplate suicide, who is praying for the state of our government, who is praying for the health of a nation. Can you imagine? What an amazing job. What a ministry. And you would like to say from just an 8th grader. Isn't that remarkable? One of the things that we follow here is holy currencies, of which are things like time and place, wellness, truth, and gracious leadership. Last of all is money. And I think that emphasizes the importance of the different gifts that God has given each one of us to our ability so that we may take God's grace out into the world. Let me ask that question one more time. God has given us an amazing gift to our ability. How do each one of us plan to invest that gift out into the world?